Kill or Be Killed podcast with Damian Ross, founder and master instructor of the Self-Defense Company.
And we're back. Okay. And we're back with the Kill or Be Killed portion of the podcast, or Kill or Be Killed podcast version, portion of the webinar. So, George, you still with us?
I am still here.
Okay. Did we get all the questions?
We did so far, so we'll see if any more come in as you guys are shooting the shit there.
All right. So, again, I think the one thing that as people are going through this and what you should be noticing is that we try to take as little, amount of technique as possible and then apply that to pretty much any situation and apply the same motor skill set to weapons that we learned in Module 1. So it's, people, someone will ask me, well, I've been training for a while. Like, what module should I start at, or where should I start? I start at the beginning. It's like learning calculus. Which I was awful at, but it's like from the beginning. You start, and then it's like once because the tactics come first, and what's in the beginning in any system, whether it's a sport, whether it's Tom Fallen. And the basics are what's most important, and that's where you learn the most about what a system or a sport or anything or a game, anything is what happens in the beginning in the first day, because the basics and what you learn first is what you're always going to learn. Or that's the way it should be.
Essentials.
Yeah. But also you are learning stuff that will be used down the road. Like people talk about the weapons and things like that. It really, when you start with how you stand, how you hit, that's also how you stand when you shoot, how you draw your weapon, a lot of these are, you just simply add a knife or a sword to what you're doing, and you've got the fundamentals. So yeah. A lot more with a samurai sword, you spend your whole life, but you put a sword in your hand with some of the stuff you've learned already, you're doing the basics.
Yeah.
Baseball bat, all these other things. It's really surprising how much this feeds together. And it's like for each stage of combat you're going through, and you're getting the fundamentals of being aware of what's around you. Okay, and then it ties into the whole thing. So whether you're having a weapon or not, that you've got a skill set that works for everything.
And this concept is nothing new at all. You look back at listen, I've got experience in Japanese martial arts, so you look at swordsmanship, and why I keep pronouncing the W is beyond me. I'm like, swordsmanship. So I've done that like 3 times. So I know I'm catching myself. So you look at swordsmanship and karate and in judo, like everything is based on the cut. How you move, how you stand, how you execute this stuff. So it's this way. Again, it was one motion that you taught that can be adapted to a variety of situations. I mean, obviously, as things evolve, they get farther away. But you look at the core, basic techniques in judo. They're all very much based on that cutting motion. And so your core is engaged. I mean, everything. And it's the same thing that's happening with the self-defense training system. It's just that same core bit. Even I know we call it cold weather training, and there's some other things that we can use, but the reality is that everything you've seen here you learned in Module 1. Not we use some weapons, we use some other stuff that we add later as we build layer upon layer about what you're learning, but the reality is it's designed for crappy weather, no footing, all of that.
Uneven terrain.
I mean,
always go back to Module 1.
Yeah.
The foundation.
Mm-hmm.
You go back to the forefathers who invented a lot of this before, cultivated with the great teaching. This was used in mountains. This was used in combat situations, streets, worst urban crimes areas. It was used by both men and women. I know with the training did not change one iota between the men and the women, what was expected. So it just really works really well.
So the home guard, that was the
Yeah.
woman, correct?
They had women in the OSS, the Secret Service, because going into Europe, there was one actress. She talked about her time there, and she talked about the judo chop. She took a German out from behind, did the sentry removal, and she one shot at the guy. And I was like, okay, that's when I was like, all right, this is something to this. But yeah, that was all Camp X. That was all the stuff they did. The home guard they did. I actually got to talk to one gentleman who was fairly young at the time in England, and they basically brought Fairbairn's books in with judo stuff like that, and they had the kids doing this because they knew if the Nazis occupied, they'd be fighting. Churchill had the attitude, we're not going to give up. We're going to keep going on this no matter what. So we had it tied for a guerrilla campaign, and they did that in Europe and in Asia. So this, they did this against Japanese who have a very robust martial arts culture.
Yeah, they were very concerned with that.
Yeah.
With the, it wasn't like it was a secret that, Japan martial arts, Bushido, which was used to, as a rally call for the nation.
Give it, martial culture that
It just goes to show you, kids, everything can still be perverted to fit your needs. Something good. It's been going on well forever.
Yeah.
So you twist. I think the whole was interesting that they went so far to westernize their culture, and then when it came down to it, it's like, okay, how do we motivate these guys? All right, we're gonna go back to Bushido and start leveraging that to get guys to, I don't know, fly planes into ships and do all kinds of crap.
Missing the honor part.
Right. Well, again, it's all honors a matter of perspective. Yeah. Right.
Yeah. Kendo was still being practiced in mass amounts. Karate. Unfortunately, the founder of judo, he was the only one saying we should try to work things out and just remain sport. Kind of was in the minority, unfortunately.
That's why the Kodokan remained open, because it was a non-military institution, and he worked very hard at that. And that was it. And then after World War II, it was judo, Kyokushin, karate, and then Aikido. It was like you had like three factions of people. One that were like, okay, we still want to fight and kill people, which is karate. And then the other ones are like, okay, we kind of want to be chill. We're kind of done with this. And that was Aikido. And then there was, the guys in the middle, we still kind of like it, but we still want to, have a good time.
Yeah. That's where you get the whole registered as a lethal weapon thing. They were registering martial artists in Japan. That's because MacArthur had seen what firsthand. He'd seen heads taken off with swords. He had seen.
Yeah.
So he was definitely knew there could be a guerrilla movement there. They let people practice. They just get them watchful eye on the whole thing.
Right. So George, you still with us, buddy?
I'm still here. And actually, Jamie just messaged across and said, he really appreciates the fact that you guys are talking about different changes in the environment, terrain, and things like that. He said he finds that most, instructors don't talk about using the environment as a tool, as a weapon, and taking that into consideration when you're training and what to be aware of for what you're going to face in reality. So he says kudos to that.
Thanks. And the also thing to consider is that I guess we're not using it as a weapon. I guess we are in a way, because we're as a tool, and we're just aware of it and considering it, because it's all about adapting. You've got to be able. You need a common denominator approach to what you could possibly face, right? So what has been done is that we're like, okay, so we're going to break it down. We're going to break down every attack to position and distance, and that's simply where you are in relation to your target, and how far away you are, right? And there's a finite number of positions. He's either in front of you, to the left, to the right, or behind you. You're on the ground. You're either in the guard, and we'll even consider half guard, the guard, and then the mount, top and bottom. That's it. If he has your back, you freaking got to fix that right away, because that sucks. And then with regards to terrain, look, elevation changes, debris, ice, sand, wood stumps, rocks, all that crap.
Taking your feet up.
Yeah, just pick your feet up and stomp. You know, I mean, I've been in seminars where guys are talking about fighting on a window ledge. I'm like, I got news for you. If I'm on a window ledge, dude, the last thing I want to do is freaking fight. I'm gonna be like, I'm freaking the fuck out.
It's being aware of the situation. If you know your parking lot, all the lights are out, don't park there. Find another spot. Don't put yourself in these positions of at a disadvantage.
I mean, I think a lot of people get wrapped up in the minutia of it. I mean, you think about any possible attack, any possible situation, any variant on that, you're into the thousands. And then you try to chase these specific techniques and different moves and just collect these things. And in reality, we talked about Hicks law the last time. You know, the more choices you have, the slower your reaction is.
Yeah.
Right? I mean, 1 to 3, but even then, I mean, it's like, you just have one plan of action. And then it's always simplified. Anyone that I've ever trained with it or learned from in anything always sought to simplify. Whether it was wrestling, football, karate, judo, combatives, I mean, it was always make it as simple as possible. Bring it back. Don't add, subtract. I mean, we've got a Kimura around here. Well, he's passed away.
That also applies to teaching. When you teach, you simplify.
Yes, and that helps. I mean, then you've got the learning pyramid where teaching is at the top, and you actually learn when you teach.
Exactly.
Because now you're looking at it, you're explaining it, you're articulating it. But one of the guys I was talking about, Kimura, he used to have his dojo in Hackensack, but my judo sensei brought him in UNESCO, brought him from Japan. And he was always about simplifying. And it's through him that I learned the punching and the kicking through Carl. Because he used to teach down at the Cranford dojo when he first came in. And he was living in like a cot in the back, that type of shit. And that's where he looked at the punch I mentioned before. I didn't get to the kick, which I'll get to in a second. He goes, he looked at two things. He looked at how you kick the motion of the hand in regards to throwing a baseball, because that was the fastest, most relatable way to generate power out of the arm. And the other was kicking a soccer ball or place kicking. I mean, you're taking that step to wind up, to open your hips up, and then driving it through. I mean, you can kick a soccer ball across the field. You could kick someone in the freaking next Tuesday, right? And then anything beyond that starts to get stylized. So you're always looking for, you look guys when they really kind of get their, even when they're, look like the guys who hit hard, they're engaging their hips, they're taking that open step, and then just like you would if you were, taking a big, kicking that ball across the field. But again, yeah, I mean, the trick is, again, to doing this and just to kind of make it as simple as possible. I mean, there's so many things and so much you can waste time, learning where instructors have, and systems have keep piling crap on. Oh, I added a new defense. Oh, I added this. Oh, I added another thing. And I'm like, holy crap, man.
Yeah. This is not Scientology. This is a solid, what you've got at the beginning on the groundwork can serve you very well. The other stuff adds to it and builds on it. But if you do module 1, you're going to be all right for a lot of things.
Right.
It's going to be a tough target.
Yeah.
Right. It's funny you mentioned that. I just watched the Vow, and it's like every cult and every system starts off with the same way. The beginning shit is like the stuff that's useful for you.
Yeah.
And then the rest of the stuff gets into some alien doing something, and where we're going into, and it starts to be bizarre.
Yeah.
So
even with the samurai, there was a time where they had that hyphenated jiu-jitsu horse and everything. They wanted the stipend. They were each teaching something different. They all kind of knew the same stuff. Somebody chose to focus on archery or the blades or the yari pike.
Yeah.
But most of them were like, okay, this is the same stuff. You're just going, everybody wanted to have their bit of the pie.
The problem happened with the Edo period because everyone stopped fighting each other.
Well, they were talking.
They're like, when they stopped fighting each other, they're like, wait a second, you guys get paid what? To do what?
Yeah.
And that's where flower arranging, tea ceremony, all the freaking very ceremonial, stylized things, and the religion, if you will, kind of came out, of that.
it's sad. They were actually talking about all the stuff they do during the period of warring states, which was 75 years of civil war. They were all talking about, well, back then I would have. No, you didn't have experience.
Right. And that's what I said. I mean, it was like, that's, then, that's what happens.
Yeah.
You get ultimate peace,
Mm.
and then people are like, all right, what do we need you guys for?
Mm.
This
Yeah,
goes for every culture, every society. You see it with, the military, law enforcement, hey, everything's great. What do we need for? You need is just in case.
Yeah.
You know?
It's maintaining that group that is willing to do the fighting, the defending, and that can be you. It's not just the law enforcement, military, and all the people. Lauren Christensen makes this clear. Grossman makes it clear. You might never have to do this. Hopefully, you never do. But when you do, you're going to be ready.
Yeah, you don't want to be trigger happy, but
You're not looking for.
you got to be
fights,
ready.
right?
Man.
Yeah.
You got to be ready to protect yourself.
Yeah.
Because if you can't protect yourself, you can't protect your coworkers.
Right.
And you can't protect your people.
Yeah, it's about doing very savage things so you can go home. That you have wife, kids, all these nice things. This other person doesn't or doesn't care. They're going to take that away from you if you don't have the tools. And being brave is a big thing. That's the first thing. You really have to, be willing to do this. These
It's all
are
about
great.
the mindset.
Yeah.
It's all about the mindset.
I don't want to die. I'm going to do this.
Mindset.
I think one of the books that's just like, mandatory reading in my life is Gates of Fire by Pressfield. And I'm not the only one. I mean, West Point, I think the FBI does it. We talk about bravery, and the opposite of bravery is actually love. That's like, and so when we get somebody and they're like, I could never do this to another human being, and you shouldn't want to. The reality is, it's like, I could never. I go, yeah, but what if somebody was, trying to, attack your child?
Yeah.
Oh, I killed that son of a bitch.
Context
This
matters.
is like, bang, I go, that's it.
Context matters.
Well, Grossman talks
Right,
about that.
contact
Like
is-
most
right.
people don't. It's like something like 2% of the population are actually. He's like the rest of them need coaxing. And it's like, what'd you do to my friend? What did you threaten to do to my wife? What did Okay.
My parking spot.
Right.
Let's offend yourself. In
you
the person.
don't miss the mission. You miss your brothers,
Exactly.
right? I mean, that's
Yeah.
why you go back. That's why guys re-up, because they feel, compelled that they're out there and I'm here. And that's what motivates you to do any of this stuff. And, don't think about, what you're doing. Think about the why.
Yeah.
I'm doing this in case, I have to. And then just concentrate on the tactics and the technique, and don't worry about, actual what's going to happen. Because if you actually think about it, you're going to get sick to your stomach. I mean, you're not a psychopath. I mean, excuse me. I'm like, there's the course. So, you're going to wind up, thinking about, grabbing somebody by the head, gouging their eyes, and smashing all the paint. Like, who the hell would want to do that to another human being? But, again, if, you're thinking about, okay, they're coming to my house, this is it, it's me or them, I'm the only line of defense, up the stairs to my family. Well, now something else. So, okay. So, George, we good? I can't hear you. Are you muted?
A son of a bitch. Yeah, we're good.
We almost made it.
Fucking technology.
All right.
Yeah.
All right, George. Well, thank you for being there again. If you still have any comments or questions, just post them there. We will respond. I want to thank Liam in the control room. Of course, Tom working the cameras and doing the setup. And finally, Quinn, who is the PA today. And, of course, the boys. So thanks for joining us. And until next time, trade honestly.
Thank you, George. Take it easy.
Take care, George.
William.
See you,
Easy,
George.
guys.
Yeah.
Okay.